everybody. This is a great, great day. And let me just say first that I'm so honored to be here to help Corey get installed. He is one of the finest, hardest working, best people I know. And, you know, in politics, very few of us can say for ourselves, there's no one who doesn't like him. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. He was born in public housing in Middletown, Mass., a union household. He struggled. The family struggled and struggled and struggled. But Corey had some inner strength, a great gift from God. And he became captain of his football team. We all know football, you know, very macho. But he came out, and he said, okay, and this was in the year 2000. I met Corey shortly thereafter when he came to New York and gave him encouragement. And Corey just climbed that ladder. He cared about communities, he cared about LGBT rights. He and I had really, way back then, I was a new senator, some really strong and meaningful discussions to me. I tried to give him strength, he tried to give me understanding, and we bonded very, very early. And I said to him then, I said, I hope you'll be in public office one day, because you've got what it takes. And of course, Corey climbed that ladder. He worked in so many different campaigns for, and as senator, I was heavily involved in lots of the different issues, and he showed such diligence and strength and forward thinking. And of course, then when Chris Quinn was term limited out of the council, Corey ran and became a great councilman, getting 86% of the vote. He still remains the only openly HIV positive elected official in all of New York State. And when he got to the council, he did an amazing job. So many different issues in terms of transportation and health care and housing. The investigative arm of the city council was revitalized. Funding for so many things that matter to people. And as Tom Duane said, preventing so many bad things from happening, the kind of cuts that people were proposing for issue after issue after issue. So look, you can say this, why is this a great day for Corey? Because of how he got here. No one put a silver spoon in his mouth. No big shot power plucked him out of nowhere and put him in this position. Corey got here the old-fashioned way. He earned it. At this point, more than ever, we need such a fighter to stand up for who we are and what we believe in. And it's a great day, not just for Corey, not just for his great family and friends, but for New York City, because we're getting such a great leader of our city.
There are so many people to thank here today. Friends, mentors, supporters, and volunteers who have been with me since day one. I could literally spend the next 4 years naming you all, but I hope it suffices for me to tell you, you know who you are. Each one of you knows who you are. And I hope that that's good enough, because I want you to know that I am extremely grateful for your friendship and for your love. My mom is watching on Facebook right now from work. My mom helps run a homeless shelter in Salem, Massachusetts. She runs their version of Housing Works. So she runs the thrift store, which raises money for the homeless shelter. Last year, my mom, through her store, raised $700,000 to support the homeless shelter. My mom is my biggest cheerleader. She is the love of my life. She is my best friend. And Mom, wherever the camera is, can everyone here give my mom a great, big New York hoot and holler and round of applause? Wouldn't have made it here without her love and support. But today, most of all, I want to thank all of you, my constituents, and the residents of the 3rd Council District. Just over 4 years ago, I got elected after knocking on, and I checked the number, 14,703 doors. I met so many of you during that campaign. Whether you wanted to meet me or not, I met you. And it was one of the most inspiring experiences of my life. Retirees and firefighters, surgeons and teachers, receptionists, activists, advertising executives, union representatives, financiers, home health aides, born and raised in Chelsea or recently arrived here from across the globe, I met you. And each one of you has a unique, incredible story and a unique set of life experiences and a unique set of challenges that you've overcome in your lives. You are what inspires me and motivates me every single day. And over the past 4 years, we have done a lot together here on the west side of Manhattan. We face some big challenges as a city, some very big challenges. The affordability crisis that grips our city threatens the very existence of our neighborhoods. New Yorkers who have lived in the same community their entire lives now find themselves priced out, unable to afford their rent or even their groceries. Many working families are living literally paycheck to paycheck, one missed shift or one medical expense away from eviction or bankruptcy. Our shelter system is overflowing with families, many of whom are working full-time jobs but can't afford homes for themselves and their children. 61,000 people slept in the shelter system last night, 23,000 of whom were children under the age of 16 years old. We must do better. Mom and pop businesses are finding themselves unable to compete with deep-pocketed chain stores, and we see empty storefront after empty storefront across neighborhoods all over our great city. Subway riders are experiencing the consequences of years of disinvestment in our infrastructure. And shamefully, racial disparities persist in nearly every aspect of life in our city, including life expectancy, health outcomes, criminal justice, and education. And the coming fiscal realities presented by Washington and Albany will only deepen the challenges that we face. These problems are incredibly complex and entrenched, but the future of our city depends on our ability to confront them. And confront them, we will. We believe in a New York where every person has access to good-paying jobs, quality health care, and good public schools. We believe that small business owners with big dreams should be given a fighting chance to succeed without getting evicted from their storefronts. We believe that our city, state, and federal governments have a responsibility to work together to fix the subways. We believe that a person's health outcomes should never be determined by their zip code. We believe that no person should be stopped and frisked based on the color of their skin. We believe that it is our responsibility to stand up for immigrants, for women, for transgender Americans, for African Americans, for Latinos and Latinas, for Muslims, for Jewish Americans, for people with disabilities, for seniors, and for the poor. We believe that affordable housing is absolutely essential to the survival of our city's middle and working class. And in the next 2 months, the City Council will extend rent protections for over 1 million apartments by renewing rent stabilization and rent control in New York City. Furthermore, working with my partners in state government, like our fabulous Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, I pledge to help lead the fight to press Albany to not only renew our rent laws, but to finally and once and for all close the loopholes that are allowing landlords to deregulate thousands of The world today can be very discouraging. Every time you turn on the TV, it's another outrage, another assault. And it's tempting to become hopeless, complacent, to turn off the news, and to turn inward. But we can't let that happen. We won't let that happen. Because as tough as things might seem, I know, and you all know, that we are going to prevail, because we have done it before. In the darkest points in our history, New Yorkers stood up and fought back. When the AIDS crisis burned and ravaged its way through this community, and thousands of gay men were literally dying, every day New Yorkers stood up and fought back. They organized. They put their bodies on the line. They put their lives on the line. They forced the government to act. They forced the development of antiretroviral drugs. And that's why I and millions of people like me are alive today. We can do that again. This is our moment. In modern American history, at inflection points in a given moment in time, whether it be the African American Civil Rights Movement, or the anti-war movement, or the farm workers movement, or the women's suffrage movement, or the movement for LGBT civil rights, every one of those movements were led by people, not politicians. They were led by the masses. They were led by individuals, Americans, citizens, who decided they had had enough, that they wanted to make our country a more just and fair, equal place. And they did that through organizing. They didn't do it by sitting back. They didn't do it by tweeting about it, or Facebooking about it, or complaining about it. They did it by acting. They did it by organizing. They did it by marching. And they did it by holding elected officials accountable. And so I ask all of you years from now, when our children and grandchildren ask us, what did you do? What did you do in 2018 when democracy was under threat in America? What did you do? A healthy democracy requires activist participants. And so I ask you all today, each one of you, and this is not in a critical way, because the people in this room are people that are engaged, are involved, do step up, do stand up, do organize. But I ask you all to recommit yourselves even further. Because not this past November, but the November before, when I woke up the day after the election, I thought, what else could I have done? And I'm sure there are many people in this room who thought, what else could they have done? Let's not feel that way this November. Let's wake up with Chuck Schumer being the majority leader of the United States Senate. Let's wake up with Jerry Nadler as chair of the Judiciary Committee. Let's wake up with Carol Maloney as chair of the Financial Services Committee. Let's wake up with Ian Jeffries in leadership in the majority in the House of Representatives. So I want to thank you again. I want to thank you for your friendship. I want to thank you for your partnership. And so I look forward to doing all I can to ensure that my unique story of being a 19-year-old who moved here, who came out at 16, who Sarah converted and found out he was HIV positive at 22 years old, who lost his health insurance 3 weeks later and couldn't get insured because they had a pre-existing condition, who grew up in public housing, who has always struggled to make ends meet here in New York City. I will remember where I came from. I will remember the struggles that I faced. I will remember the adversity that I faced. And when difficult decisions need to be made, I will do it remembering, of course, all of you, but the folks that aren't here today. The single mom who's working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to keep things together for her family. The public housing resident who is living in conditions which are unacceptable. The family in a rent-regulated unit whose landlord is harassing them and trying to illegally deregulate where they live. I'll remember those stories. So I've spoken for far too long, but I really want you to know that I am deeply grateful. I am enormously, enormously grateful to have this opportunity and to have this responsibility. There are going to be good days, there are going to be tough days, there are going to be hard days, there are going to be days in between. But I will do it with a smile, I will have fun, I will do this job in an earnest way, in a serious way, and it will get the attention it deserves, but I'm also going to have a lot of fun. And I hope to have fun with you, while at the same time making our city even better. Thank you all very, very much. I love you.